So good evening, everyone who is in EatX right now with me. Thank you for taking your time. It's indeed a very precious evening, going through all the traffic jam just to be here with us this evening. And I want to welcome those who are tuning online right now. Welcome to our first collaboration between New Covenant Community with focus on the Family Malaysia. So a little bit of introduction here. New Covenant Community is a local church located at Sentul, whereas focus on the Family Malaysia. Their work is focusing in building families so that families thrive in all relationship. We're talking about marriages, parents, youth, children. And today, we are very privileged to have them talk about how to raise resilient children. Now, we at Empower Women, that you're going to see it on the slides, our missions and vision is simply to create a safe space here, whereby there is a community. Come together, we can basically learn and we can grow. And we want to empower women for this initiative, is to be able to be the positive agents of change and impact the world. So we hope to resource them. We hope to basically build them, give them that learning, so that we believe when women coming together, we can create a sustainable environment in family and also at the workplace where we are in. So now let me just move quickly to introduce our speaker of today. And her name is Marie-Elena Isaac. It's very privileged to have Marie-Elena, and she has vast experiences in marriage and parents. She was actually working in, she has master in psychology. She used to work as a corporate trainer prior to joining Focus on Family Malaysia. Currently, she serves as marriage and parenting manager in Focus on the Family Malaysia. So she speaks on various marriage, parenting, and family topics. She also has experience in soft skills training such as time management, stress management, and leadership skills. She has a passion to educate couples, parents on the important role the family plays in ensuring a healthy and thriving society. Marie is married to Jeremy, and they have lovely 2 children. Now today, what you're gonna take away from Marie is you're gonna understand what are the common stressors that our children are facing. I think we are kind of agree that our children live in a very competitive world today. Everything is about performing, even at their very young age. And many of times we do not know what to do with them when we're seeing them melt down. So today, Marie is gonna give us some techniques, give us some principles, teach us how to raise our children resiliently and also with confidence. At the end of the sessions, for those who are in Dignity EatX, that there are books that you can actually take a look and you can bring back home. Okay, so just make sure that you visit the resources here that is displayed in Dignity EatX before you leave this place. And for those that are online, unfortunately, you can't. You can actually ping us on the Facebook if you intend to find any of the resources, and perhaps that we can actually help you. So now, without delaying, let me just welcome Marie-Elena Isaac, and I'm going to pass the sessions over to you.
Thank you, Sophia. Good evening to all of you. It's really my privilege, our privilege, Lud, here as well, to be with you today. So, I was in Sentul for like 19 years before I moved out. So it's such a privilege actually to be back here. So yeah, let me just introduce Focus on the Family a little bit. Okay, so like Sophia mentioned, our tagline is helping families thrive. Okay, so thrive means we want to see families grow and be the best that they can be. All right, and we focus on areas. We have programs and events for married couples, for parents, and also for the youth. Okay, so these are the 3 groups of people that we are really passionate about. And we want to see you all thrive in your marriages, in your parenting, and in raising youths as well, and the youths themselves. Okay. Okay, let me just introduce my family a little bit to you. This is my family. So I've been married for 7 years now. I have 2 little girls who are 7 and 4. So I also am in the process of raising children, you know, in this world. So in this generation, in this, what's going on in society right now. So even as, I always say this in all my talks, you know, even as I am talking to you and helping you, you know, your feedback and your stories and your experiences also really help me, you know, in my journey and in my experience as well. So let's make this like a learning experience for all of us, all right? All right, so we'll get right into it. Okay, so why do we have to talk about resilience? All right, children these days, like Sophia mentioned, there's so much of achieving, you know, and there's so much of competition. All right, just look at some statistics and see what is happening, what's going on in the world these days, okay? All right, so this is from the National Health and Morbidity Survey from 2022, and this was done among a group of teenagers, adolescents. All right, and if you notice that this is about suicide, okay? So the trend with teens from 2012 to 2022 over this decade, it has actually seen an increase. Okay, so the pink one is the attempted suicide, and the darker reddish, maroonish one is that they actually thought about it. All right, so 1 in 8 teenagers had suicidal thoughts. Okay, and 1 in 10 actually attempted suicide. Right, and it's interesting that, you know, more girls than boys actually had these thoughts of suicide. Okay, and also girls, even in their attempt, was higher than the boys. Okay, we see an increase in the decade from 2012 to 2022. Okay. So the question we should ask now, are they okay? What's going on with the children? What's going on with the teenagers these days? You know? And the reason that I think, you know, twice as many girls than boys are depressed is because girls, you know, with the rise of digital age, okay, technology and what we see on social media, what we see online, okay, girls can be so easily influenced, or not influenced, but also, like, you know, their self-esteem can be affected. Okay, because when they look at somebody online, oh, that girl looks so great, her hair is so great, her body is so great, you know, she dresses so well. So these will actually give us thoughts of, you know, like, oh, I'm not good enough, you know. So that could be a reason that actually some girls are feeling more depressed than boys are. Okay, so, yeah, 36.1% of girls felt depressed and 17.7% of boys. Now, this is about bullying, okay? So this is physical bullying, be it in school or in colleges or wherever the children are at. Okay, so 8.6% of adolescents actually reported having been bullied in their lifetime. Okay, and the highest was among Form 1 students, so that's around 13 years old. Okay, and of course that's higher among young adolescents, that's like probably between 11 to 13. So, and 9.1% of that were boys and 8% of being reported were girls. Okay. All right, now these are a few of the most common ways, okay, that these teenagers are being bullied that was reported, okay. So the first one and the highest one, which we can see at 26.7%, is actually they were made fun of how their face looked, about how their bodies looked, okay. And the second one that comes in is like they were bullied in some other ways, okay. So we don't know what these are, but a close one is at 16% is they were made fun with sexual jokes, comments, and gestures. All right, so these are some of the reasons that teenagers are being bullied. All right, and then I was mentioning online, because technology is on the rise. Bullying these days doesn't only happen physically. Even you can just go online and there's so many bullies online. So your bullies don't really have to be from your school or from Kuala Lumpur. They can be from as far as the US and wherever, you know, because it's all online. Okay, and 1 in 5 adolescents have reported to be bullied or harassed by somebody through the internet, phone calls, okay, or any devices, because everybody is connected in some way these days. Okay, and in the higher population of this was males at 22.7%. All right, so I'm not going to go through this in very detail, but these are some of the most common ways that cyberbullying actually happens. All right, so if we look at it, the highest is that, you know, sometimes this is how people are bullied online, okay? So the highest at 11.3% is there were rude comments made. You know, nowadays on Facebook, Instagram, so easy to make comments. You can comment about everybody and everything, right? Yeah, so it's so easy to be mean. Okay, so this was the highest reason that people were getting bullied. Okay, and of course spreading rumors. And all these things are affecting the young people, their minds, okay? You know, they just feel like they cannot go on sometimes, and that is why the suicide rates are also going up. All right, this is a little bit about mental health, about young people, girls who have been given handphones, you know, who actually use phones. If you look at it, at age 6, okay, if you give a child a phone by the time they're age 6, there's a higher likelihood of them having mental issues. Okay, this is for a girl. Okay, and compared to those who only received at age 18. Okay, it's only at 46%, these mental issues. Okay, interestingly, for boys, it's quite low. Okay, only 42% and 36%. Okay, like I said, maybe girls have got a lot of comparison going on online, and you know, so it's a blow to their self-esteem, okay? So in line with this, I actually just want to tell you all about this program that we're having on the 14th of September. It's about navigating your child's social media world. Okay, so it's going to be a FB Live. Anybody can join. So we just want to encourage you. You can go onto our Facebook or onto our Instagram and just watch us. Okay, we're getting an influencer, if you've heard about him, Brandon Ho, to come and speak as well. And we're going to hear from a young adult that's using social media. All right, and also one of our focused US partners who's going to be also one of the speakers. So please do join us, because this is a very prevalent thing going on with young people these days, and how parents can handle it. All right, so very quickly, can I get some responses? Okay, so if you were to look at your child right now, 1 being poor and 10 being super, how would you rate your child's resilience right now? Anybody want to just tell me? Don't know. All right. No responses? 5? All right. Okay, that's not too bad. That's halfway point. Okay. And you know, these are just some images that actually represent resilience. Okay, we'll look at a few of them later. Okay, but you know, a fly, for example, have you ever tried to kill a fly? Have you ever tried to catch a fly? You know, it's like so hard, okay? And then also a tennis ball, the way the ball is being hit, you know, with the strength and the gusto of the players, you know, and the tennis ball still stays round and pretty. I don't know if it's pretty, but it's still round and solid, okay? So that's another image of resilience. So let's get into it, okay? What is resilience? Okay, let's just take a look at this video. Oops. Is it playing? Okay, no. Oops. Okay, it's not playing, huh? Yeah, I think you just tap one more time. Let's try it. All right. Oh. Okay, maybe I'll just send it to Amanda, then she can pass it to you. Okay, it's actually a video of these little children who are playing with that bob thing where you push it down and it never falls down, that toy, and they're seeing what resilience is. So it's really nice. It's too bad you can't watch it now. It's okay. All right, so this is the dictionary definition of resilience. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. You're very tough, all right? The ability of a substance to bounce back into shape. Okay, so bounce back into shape, I just want you to think of a rubber band, okay? Like, I only have this to show you now. But a rubber band, we can actually, the ones we use to tie things up, okay? We can actually like pull it, and you can really pull it and pull, and yet after you let go, it still comes back into this shape, okay? Unless, of course, you pull it a bit too tight and then it's going to break, so don't do that. But then, you can just like pull it as much as you want and it still bounces back into its shape, okay? So that is an example of resilience, okay? Able to recover quickly, toughness, and you can spring back after difficulties. All right, now this is a cockroach, okay? I mean, who likes cockroaches here? Should no? Somebody does? No, I mean, like, I am so terrified of them, okay? But a cockroach is a perfect example of resilience, okay? Because if you've ever tried to kill a cockroach in your house, like, sometimes you hit it like 100 times and it's, after a while, okay, it's dead. And then you realize that the legs are still moving, right? Okay? And then like you think it's dead, you leave it there, the next morning it's not there anymore. Okay? Like it just got up and went off, okay? So, and there's also a study that shows that a cockroach can live without its head for 1 week. Okay? So, yes. Okay. So that's like 7 days without your head. I guess they don't breathe, they don't need their head for 7 days. So that's how resilient they are, okay? So that's a good example of resilience, okay? No matter how much we want to kill it. All right, the second one. Okay, the second one is this toy, okay? I guess parents, all of us have had this toy with our children sometime, okay, where you push it, no matter what happens, you can throw it, you can drop it off a table, whatever it is, if you look at it, it's always standing upright. Okay, so that's another example of resilience. Okay, no matter how much it's pushed, no matter how it's played with, okay, it still bounces back. Like I mentioned about the definition earlier. Okay, so I just want to tell you a quick story about my daughter. Okay, so this girl, her name is Hannah. She's 7 years old this year, but last year she was in kindergarten. So when she was in kindergarten, she always came and she was enjoying kindergarten for the most part. And then she came and told us about these two girls one day who were being little bit mean. Okay, so they were like telling her, oh, you cannot come and join in this game that they're playing. Okay, and they were making other comments. But these two girls are a bit of bullies in the sense that they are not only doing it to her, they've been doing it to other children in the class as well. So she'll come and tell me every now and then, oh, mommy, this happened, that happened. So me and my husband will always be telling her to like, oh, it's okay, just like go tell your teacher if it gets too much, and then like, but, try to make friends with someone else, try to keep away from these two girls if you can. But the great thing about it is like throughout all these things that were happening, she never once came and told us like, oh, I don't want to go to school. She still had that resilient heart, like, I want to go to school, I'm okay going to school, And then it came to a point when these girls were doing it for a few months, and then there was a point where they made a comment about something really personal. Okay, and as a mom, I was like, okay, this is a bit too much, I have to do something about it. So I went and messaged the teacher, and I told the teacher, and she was like, oh, okay, we will look into it, And so the teacher managed to settle it. So just remember that earlier when I mentioned she didn't want to go and tell her teacher things. She was shy, okay? She was a bit scared. So she used to come and tell us. And then me and my husband told her, like, go and tell teacher, go and tell teacher, so your teacher's aware. So after me telling the teacher, then about a month or so, everything was fine. But then these two girls, again, they said something. Again, they did something. And then she came and told it to us. But the best part about it is she came and said, oh, mommy, but this time I already told the teacher. You know? So me and my husband were like, okay, that's great. That means you learned something from this, from your parents. We were pushing her like gently at the back. Okay, we didn't take like the active role to go and talk to the teacher, go and like fight with the teacher, fight with the student. You know, we just told her like go and tell. So what I learned from this is that she's so resilient in the sense that she didn't always wanted to go to school, and also she became brave to go and talk to the teacher, to tell the teacher. And this is a role that me and my husband played in the sense that we were always supporting her from the back. You know, she felt strong with the support that she was getting from her parents. So what I'm trying to say is that you as parents, you actually play a really important role as well in determining okay, that our children are resilient, okay, because some of them are not born resilient. Some of them are quite soft when they're born, they're shy. Okay, not all our children have the same characteristics. So we as parents, we can actually help them to become resilient, to learn how to be resilient. So it's really great that you're here today to hear this, to learn, okay, we all learn together. Okay, so, okay, I'm just going to show you 3 pictures right now. And can you tell me, like, which picture to you represents resilience? The first one is a girl on a horse. The second one is a girl playing hockey. And the third one is a girl in a wheelchair drawing with her mouth. So if you look at the 3 pictures, like which one would you say represents resilience? Anyone? Number 3? Okay, number 3. Anyone else? 3 also? Everybody agree number 3 is the best? All 3. Yes, that's true as well. Okay, so you know what's interesting about these pictures? It's all the same person. This is a real person. Okay, so this girl in the wheelchair is Joni Erickson Tada. Yeah, if you all heard about her. So she had an accident, a diving accident, and she became paralyzed. Okay, and so she was really active in sports and all that before. So when she had this diving accident, she was paralyzed from the shoulders down, you know, and she really had these thoughts of suicide, of not being able to go on, you know, but thankfully she picked herself up. She learned how to write with her mouth. She learned how to draw with her mouth, you know, and she became an author. If you can, just go back and Google her and read about her. You know, she became an author. She authored so many books, you know, and this is a great story of someone who has bounced back, okay, who is so resilient. Now, let's talk a little bit about our identity, okay? So resilience is connected to our identity. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, so look at this iceberg, okay? The top part is what we can see. So what can we see is a person's behaviors, a person's experiences. This is what we can see with our naked eyes when we look at someone, when we look at our child. Okay, but underneath the iceberg, what we cannot see are the values, the beliefs, and the relationships, okay, that has molded this person to be the way he or she is, okay, to behave in the way that he is behaving, to have this experience, to experience things the way that they are. Okay, it's all based on this, and these are the things that form the identity. Okay, so our values, our beliefs, our relationships, these form who we are. And these will translate into our behaviors, into our experiences that we have. Okay, and like I mentioned, our identity is connected to our relationships. Okay, like let's have a look at this picture. Okay, this is resilience. This is a perfect example of resilience as well. You see the 1, 2, 3, they won a prize, but we don't know what goes on underneath, what goes on beneath. Okay, there's so much of effort, there's so much of practice, so much of patience, so much of planning. These are the things that we don't see, like the iceberg just now, the 90% that we don't see. Okay, we only look at the number 1, number 2, number 3, and we think, oh, how come that person is doing so well? But we don't see the work that has gone into making them who they are. All right, this is another example of it. Okay, and these are taken from the Big Life Journal. If you've heard of it, it's great. If you haven't, please have a look at it. Big Life Journal has got a lot of resources for young children and for parents to use. Okay, so success as well, you know, what people see is just the success. Underneath it is discipline, is the patience, okay, and of course the rejections, the bad parts that happen as well. Okay, everything is there, but what we see is the success. Okay. Now this is just a quote from a book, okay? The setbacks and mistakes and failures we have shoved away from out of our children's way, okay? We've taken them away from it is what actually teaches them, okay, to be resourceful, persistent, and resilient in this world. So sometimes the experiences that they have to go through that we want to protect them from is actually what makes them resilient. So they have to experience some things. Okay, in line with that, I actually just want to talk to you about these failures. Okay, some of these famous people, I'm sure all of us have heard about Serena Williams. Okay, we have all heard about Michael Jordan. Okay, they all have backstories about what happened to them. They did not become successful as they are now just like that, just overnight. It took a lot of practice, a lot of patience, a lot of failures, okay? And we have to always tell our children, you can use this as an example. This is from the Big Life Journal as well, where we can actually tell them that failures are a part and parcel of life that's going to make you successful. For example, I give you one example of Serena Williams, okay? She became a professional tennis player at 11 years old. Okay, and at that time, she got a lot of comments about how she looks. You know, a lot of girls get comments about how they look. Okay, and then she got a lot of comments about her race, about her being a black woman, and she also got a lot of comments about how she's not good enough. People were putting her down and saying, "Oh no, you're not going to be great." Okay, and these comments and these things were actually affected her. She actually started doubting herself. Okay, and she was asked, but thankfully she had a good support system. She had a good family, she had good friends around her who actually supported her, encouraged her, and pushed her. So that's why she did not give up. And today we know, you know, she's won the most Grand Slams, I'm not sure how many, but a lot. Okay, she's one of the most famous sports people tennis players that we know. Okay, and all this didn't start because, you know, she could have given up. The moment someone said, "Oh, you're not good enough," she could have said, "Yes, I'm not good enough." You know, but she didn't. She pushed through, she pushed on, and she became Serena Williams, like who she is today. Okay, so in the same way, there's so many other examples that are given that we can actually look at. Okay, so if you have the time, since you don't have the time to do it together now, you can actually go back home and you can actually look this up with your children. You can even Google, you know, famous failure stories or something, you know, and talk about it to your children. All right, this is an illustration I want to show you about failure as well. All right, so the first picture shows this person who has failed. He's putting all the failure on his head and it's weighing him down, you know. And the second person is using the failure. They have failed the same amount. But the second picture, we see this person using failure as a stepping stone, as a ladder to actually go up. Okay, and so obviously we would say that is the more resilient person. All right? Yeah, so resilient people use failure to their advantage, all right, and they do not let failures hold them back. Okay, so these are an example of resilience. This is a good image to actually remember. So failing is not a bad thing. There's not one famous person, I think, if I'm not wrong, who has not failed at something. Okay, everybody has failed, everybody has, but the thing that shows whether we're resilient, whether we can make it is whether we are resilient or not. Shows the amount of resilience that we have in ourselves. Okay. So if our children fail their exams or do badly in school, let's not say, oh, what's wrong with you? We should be the ones who are encouraging them, right? Who are giving them that stepping stone, that push, that, oh, you can do it. Just try harder. Okay, so how to measure resilience? Okay, look at this one. All right, I'm afraid you failed the stress test, and he's stressed because he failed the stress test. Okay, so obviously this guy is not very good at containing his stress. Huh? All right, so if you think about a tea bag, just now Sophia gave me some tea that I haven't drank yet. Okay, so resilient people, let's think about a tea bag. The hotter the water, that means the more the problems, the more the troubles, the more the things that are weighing them down, the stronger they get. So we are able to rise above the problem. Okay, so you just think to yourself at this moment, just take a few seconds to just think how do I, as a parent, as a person, how do I behave when I have issues? Am I like this tea bag? Do I get stronger in hot water, or do I give up? So a tea bag is a perfect example also of resilience. The more the problems, the hotter the problems, the hotter the water, the stronger we get. Now, stress. Okay, we're talking a little bit about stress, because stress is the one that actually measures how resilient a person is. Okay, if we do not have stress in our lives, we will not be able to measure whether we're resilient or not. How do we tell the difference? If our life is just like that, okay, I'm okay, but when something happens is when we can actually measure it. Okay, so stress is the function of the demands placed on us and our ability to actually meet them. Are we able to meet the demands? Or do we say, I can't do this? But of course, you don't have to do it alone. That's why we have family, we have our spouse, we have our support, to also help us to meet these demands. So don't think that you have to do it alone. Okay? We're all a community here. Okay, now in this juncture, I want to just tell you about a few of the books or resources that will help you, which is in relation to resilience as well. Okay, so we have this couple of books. These two books were actually written by our founder, Mr. Lee Wee Min. Intentional Fathering, which is for fathers mainly, but moms, you can actually buy it for your husbands and pass it to them. Okay, and Parenting, a Roller Coaster Experience. Okay, so these two were written by our founder. It's all about parenting. It teaches some very great values and tips and suggestions in our parenting journey. And the last two here are journals that we have for mom and son and mom and daughter. Okay, so it's really interesting. If you open it and you look at it, there's a lot of things that we can do together with our children. It's a time of bonding. It's a good chance to talk about how resilient they are as well. Okay, so yeah, please do have a look when you have the time. Okay, is it break time? Okay, we'll just take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back. All right, welcome back. All right, let's settle down and we can go into the next part of it. All right, so in the first part just now we spoke about, I give you a little bit of introduction about what resilience is, okay, about examples of resilience and what we as parents we can do. And now we want to get into a bit more theory, a bit more application on where you as parents come in helping your children build their resilience. Okay, so this is a quote, okay? We just look at it for a while. It says that the single most common factor for children to develop resilience is to actually have at least one stable and committed relationship, okay, with a parent, with a caregiver, okay, or any other adult. So a child needs at least that one person, okay, that is for them, that is there for them, that they know if they have any issues, any problems, they can go to. Okay, so a child needs one of these at least. Okay, and in our book, and Mr. Lee Women's book, okay, our founder, he says about fathers, okay, it's so important and crucial for the wholesome and positive development of our children, all right, for them to develop. So the role of the father is so important and it should not be abdicated, okay, and we know that nowadays sometimes, there's a lot of single parents, a lot of these things happen. So like I mentioned earlier, at least one person that the child can turn to. Okay. So I want to introduce to you the 3 E's of resilience. We're going to go through this, all right? So there's number 1, establish, where we give them the security that they need. Okay. Number 2, we empower them to solve problems, okay, in problem solving. And finally, number 3, we equip them. Okay, so this is a happiness toolkit, which we will talk about in a little bit. All right, so let's look at number 1, establish. E for establish, the first E, and we talk about their security. Now, how do we establish a secure, strong foundation of love with our children? Okay, so let's remember these 4 A's. The first one, attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. All right? So this is 4 A's that we're going to go through right now very quickly, okay? So before we do that, when we look at attention, can we please put all our books, free your hands, okay, don't hold anything. Just do this quick activity with me, okay? So let's free our hands, don't hold anything. All right? And just take a few moments, just look at your hands. Pay attention to your hand. Okay? Look at your hands. Look at it. Observe it. Do you see anything different? Does it look the same? You know? Touch your hands, like the texture. How does it feel? Is it soft? Do you notice any changes? Do you see anything in your hands that are different? Okay, so just take a few seconds. Just don't look at me. Look at your hands. And just observe. We're learning how to pay attention, okay? Okay. So, did anyone notice anything different about your hands that you've never seen before? Is that like a new mole? Or a new scar? You know, sometimes some of the participants, they tell me my hands feel rougher. Okay, maybe because of all the work. Yeah? So, so when is the last time we actually looked at our hands like that? You know, we use our hands for so many things. Okay, our hands, like, we can't really survive without our hands, right? Yeah? And do we actually look at it? Do we observe it? Do we actually notice what's going on with our hands? Okay, so honestly, no, right? But since I'm actually doing this program a few times, I've been looking at my hands quite a lot. Okay, so what we learn from this is actually just to, pay attention. All right, when is the last time we actually looked at our children? Do we give them this kind of undivided attention? All right, they really need that undivided attention. I know parents these days, we are so busy. We have so many things going on. We have our work, we have our family, and then there's traffic jams. All right, and there's so many things that actually take our time, and even our children, they're going for this class, that class, every class, and we are so busy with life that sometimes, like when our children come and talk to us, we may just brush them aside, or we don't really notice what is going on with them, right? Like our child maybe has become more quiet, maybe has stopped talking as much as he or she used to. Do we notice these things? Or are we just so busy that we are like, oh, he's fine, So are we paying attention to our children? Do we notice the small details? And children need our attention, okay? Yeah, so pay attention to our child's emotions. A child, especially a teenager, like those, the ones that we saw in the statistics who want to commit suicide, they're not really going to come and communicate with the parent and say, oh, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling sad. Okay, so this is where we as parents, we can come in and we can observe and notice them and go and talk to them and say, are you okay? How are you doing? I was at another church in Ipoh. We were talking, we had a program with them there, and they had a activity where the youths wrote down something about their fathers and their parents. And one of the youths wrote down there, you don't have to ask me about who I'm dating. Just ask me how I am. The boy just wanted his father to ask him, how are you? How are you doing? So that showed us that maybe that dad wasn't giving the boy the attention that he wanted, that he needed. Right? So let's learn how to pay. So our children need that kind of attention. So how do we, when I say observant, when I say pay attention, what do I mean? Okay, number one, very quickly, okay, now even as we recognize their emotions, this is a chance for us to teach them some life skills. For example, if we hear our child, if we see our child being very quiet, we can go up to them and say, hey, what's going on? And then your child might open up to you and say, oh, there's somebody in school who is bullying me. And in that way, we can actually, it's a teaching moment where we actually open up a teachable moment where we can talk to our child about bullying, about what to do, and increase their resilience, okay? And secondly, listen to their non-verbal behavior. What is non-verbal? Now I'm talking to you, you can hear my voice, but there's a lot of non-verbal behavior. Non-verbal behavior are things like your body language. All right? How are you when you can look at someone and know whether they are happy with you or not? By your smile, by the way you're sitting, by the way you're standing. Okay, so that is your body language. And the second one is your tone of voice. All right? What tone of voice are you using? Someone who is happy will talk with a happy tone of voice. Someone who's angry, so even if you're saying like good words, but you're saying it in an angry tone, you can already read that you're not happy, Okay, so we have to look at our children's non-verbal behavior as well. Okay, and of course respond with acknowledgement, with a slight acknowledgement. We don't have to everything become, okay, now I'm going to give you a lecture. Come and sit down here. It doesn't always have to be a big, huge conversation, It can be a small thing. Just simply acknowledge them and say, okay, I hear you. I hear what's your problem. Okay, let's talk about it later. To tell them that my mom is listening or my dad is listening to me, and it's someone that they can turn to. All right? And practice reflective listening. Reflective listening is to show our children that we're actually listening to what they're saying. So we can actually sort of like paraphrase what they're saying. So if they tell you, Mommy, someone in school is bullying me, so you can tell them like, okay, I hear that someone is not being nice to you at school. So when you say it like that, your child knows, oh, my mom understands what I'm saying. My dad understands what I'm saying. Understands from where I am coming from. Okay, so these are ways that we can be observant with our children. All right. Now, in being observant, we're also going to talk about emotions. All right, and this is our emotion chart, okay? So the big letters on top, the big words, the ones in the capital, okay, sad, scared, happy, excited, angry, and shy, these are ways that children will express themselves normally, okay? So what we can do to understand our children better is to teach them what is causing them to be sad. Ask them to go deeper, okay? So we take sad, for example. Your child will just say, I'm sad. So we want to probe and ask them, but why are you sad? Are you hurt? Did somebody hurt you? Okay? Or is something making you feel uncomfortable and that is why you're sad? Okay? So to teach them to increase their vocabulary, their emotional vocabulary, so they can explain things better to you as well. Right? Now, sometimes even children as small as 1 year old, okay, we can ask them things like, so are you happy? Okay, if your child comes and tell, if you want to ask your 1 year old how they feel, are you happy? Like, are you number 1 happy or are you number 10 happy? So those are ways that we can teach them to express their emotions. Are you like number 1 happy? So number 1 is not so happy and number 10 is very happy. So as they grow older, then they can say things like these words. We can increase their vocabulary. All right? And then this one, these are for like older children, the secondary age children, where we teach them to express their emotions in so many words. Okay, because so many things can be causing you to be happy. So many things can be causing you to be angry, for example. Okay, so why are they angry? Were they provoked? All right, so are they annoyed about something? So to better understand our children, to be able to understand and observe their behavior, paying attention to them, this is a very good way that we can teach them to express themselves better. Okay, so this is in the Big Life Journal as well. It's called the Feelings Wheel. Okay, so you can go look it up if you want to. Okay. All right. So that's attention, okay? Let's move on to the next one, appreciation. Okay, the next A is appreciation. Now, have you ever written to your child and told them a sentence like this, Like, I really appreciate seeing you, okay, something. Or I love the way you do something, okay? Or I noticed how you were. So it shows them that we actually notice things that they're doing. Okay? And when we say I love you, let's just say like I love you and full stop. Not I love you because, I love you because you did so well in school. I love you because you were so kind to your friend. So that will show our children like, oh, I have to do something and then my parent loves me. So let's learn how to say, I love you. That's it. Full stop. Okay, so there's no reason, but I love you because you're my child. That's it. And that will help our child to actually come to you and show them that my mom doesn't love me conditionally, not because of something. Okay, but she loves me for who I am. Okay? Now, so what I normally do this in the session, but I don't think we have time today. So what you can do when you go back home, just if your child has a handphone, has a number, just send them a text, a WhatsApp message that says, you can start with one of these prompts. Okay, just send them a message and just say something like, I really appreciate seeing you, or I love you for doing this. No, actually don't say that. I told you to say I love you and full stop. Okay, so you can say like, I love the way you do something. I noticed how. So these are like prompts. And I really encourage you to like go back home and try it and write a note. Okay, for those who have younger children, who your children don't have phones yet, we can actually go back to the old school way of writing notes, right? Okay, so just take a note and write it to them. I started this thing because my girl started school this year, Standard 1. So I started writing to her notes. I put it into her pencil box every morning, And I think she's like, okay, mommy, whatever now already, like so many months. But what has happened is my second girl, my 4-year-old, she came to me, Mommy, why don't you write me any notes? You know, because she's still at home. We haven't started her at school yet. So I always see her, so I'm like, okay, what I can tell you what I want to tell you, right? But she wants a note from me as well, you know? So nowadays I write something simple for her also, and I put it into her pencil box. And every day she come and tell me, Mommy, where's my note? Where's my note if I don't write it? Like today morning she asked me, because now it's school holidays, right? So I haven't been writing for my older girl also. So today my younger one came and just like, Mommy, where's my note? She brought her pencil box. I said, okay, I got to write you a note, okay? So yes, our children really, really do appreciate this, and I really, really encourage you to go back home and write one for your child, okay? And don't write, if you have 3 children, don't write, okay, dear, you know, all of them. Try to make it individualistic, write 1 note each child and make it special for them. Okay, this is to show them that we appreciate them. Okay, so the next one, affection. The next A is affection, okay? Okay, maybe this one you can quickly tell me. If you had 5 seconds to show love, how would you express it? Hug, yes. Kiss, yes. Anywhere else to show love? In 5 seconds. Squeeze. Yes, okay? So you can actually even say, I love you. Okay, it's just 5 seconds. So we don't need a whole lot of time to actually show love, right? We just need less than 5 seconds to show love. Okay, and like, you know, every morning when our child goes to school or when they come back home from school, give them a hug. That's hardly 5 seconds of our time. If we are like, I'm so busy, I don't have time for you, we can actually just hug them. It's hardly 5 seconds. You know, I read somewhere that the 3 most important times for a child it's the 3 minutes when they get up from sleep in the morning, it's the 3 minutes when they come back home from school, and it's the 3 minutes before they go to sleep. Okay, so these are the crucial times for our children. So let's take those 3 minutes. So it adds up to only 9 minutes, you know. So our children are not so demanding. They only want like 9 minutes out of 24 hours, if we think about it, you know. And it will actually set the tone for the whole day for them to know that my mom or my dad, they look at me, they know I am there. Okay, so let's take that time. Okay, so at this point, I just want to introduce to you the 5 love languages. We have the books here as well. Has anyone heard about the 5 love languages? Yeah, it's pretty common around these days, okay? So this doesn't only apply to couples, not only to husband and wife, but we can actually apply it to our children as well, okay? So if you tell me like, okay, how am I going to know my child's love language? Because for adults, we can actually do a test online. There's a test online. If you want to, you can do it. I didn't put the link here, but if you want to, you can just Google 5 love languages assessment, and it will come up, and you can find out your love language if you haven't. So like my children, when I was preparing a few months back, I was thinking like, yeah, actually, I also don't know my kids' love language, you know, and I'm telling others to find out their children's love language. So I made it a point to actually pay attention to my children, to notice, to observe what's happening. And I realized that I found out so easily because my first girl, she was always saying things like, Mommy, you didn't spend enough time with me. Mommy, you're so busy. Mommy, come and do this. You know, that kind of thing. So she was talking a lot about spending time, about being together, doing things together. So from that, I realized that her love language is probably quality time. You know, she wants to spend the quality time with me. Right? And then my second girl, she's like, Mommy, can you go and get this for me? Can you bring this for me? Can you bring that for me? I want a drink. I want this. I want that. And then when I give it to her, she says like, thank you. She's like so happy that I gave it to her. And then I realized that, okay, this girl, her love language is probably acts of service. Where when I do something for her, you know, when I do it, she's so happy. She feels loved. Like, oh, Mommy's doing this for me when I asked her to do it. You know, so in the same way, we can observe our children and we can find out what their love languages are. Okay? So let's very quickly go through the love languages. Okay, so the first one is words of affirmation. Okay, so when we're communicating with our children with whose their love language is words of affirmation, words of affirmation means saying positive things, telling them like, oh, you are awesome, okay, you are good, and encouraging them, okay? So we want to tell them encouraging, kind words. We want to give them compliments. We want to affirm them. Okay, and of course, things to avoid is like criticizing them, insulting them, because these things will really make them feel very unloved. Okay? And so what can we do, huh? Like this, okay? Send notes or send them a message, send them a text. Okay? And also like when they hear you telling others about them, you know, like go and tell them, oh, she did really well in school. You know, she really helped a friend the other day. So when your child hears this, they'll feel like, oh, mommy really loves me and appreciates me. Okay, and then the second one is receiving gifts. Okay, this is a second love language. Children like this, of course, they love to receive gifts, okay? Like any child also loves gifts, but some of them, they feel loved, really loved when they get a gift from you. Okay, and yeah, but gifts don't have to always be expensive. Nowadays, toys are crazy expensive, right? Okay, so we don't have to always be buying expensive things for them. Even small things are enough to satisfy them sometimes, okay? All right, now things to avoid. Obviously, forgetting their birthdays or forgetting days when they achieve things, you know, and not giving them things. They will be like, oh, mommy doesn't love me or my daddy doesn't love me. Okay? And of course, thoughtless gifts. Okay, this one means like, if you know your child doesn't like something, you just buy it just to throw it at them and say, okay, now I bought you something already. Okay, they'll be like, my mom doesn't know what I like. Okay, kind of thing. Okay, so what you can do is, of course, give them gifts on special occasions. All right, and even every now and then, maybe buy them something small, you know, something, and maybe be with them as well. Okay, like I mentioned, even yourself being there with them is also a gift in itself. Okay, the third one, acts of service. This is when you do something for the person, okay? So your child feels love when you do something for them. I know as moms, you're probably saying like, I do everything for my child, you know? Yes, we do, but some of them, they actually want the extra, okay? So we can actually ask them like, so what can I do for you now? You know? And then also, if they want something, say, okay, I will go get it for you. You know? And then they feel like, okay, mommy's doing something for me. Okay, what we want to ignore is ignoring their requests or telling them later, I'll get it for you later, just sit down first, you know? And we're prioritizing others, or we're being lazy, okay? Like we're so lazy to go to the kitchen to get something. We're like, later. Okay, but sometimes as parents, I experience that as well. We're just so tired just to get up from the hall to the kitchen. Like, no, I can't walk, okay? So, okay, then what can we do, okay? What can we do? It's like to help them do their homework maybe, okay? Just sit down with them and go out of our way to help them, okay? If they're struggling with something, maybe we can enroll them in some class, you know, to help them through it, okay? And they'll be like, they will know that you're paying attention to them. The next one is quality time, okay? So this is basically just spending time. It's one of the cheapest and the easiest, okay? You don't have to do anything. You just have to go and sit down with your child and just be there with your child, okay? Spending quality time with them, okay? And sometimes when we have 2 or 3 children, it's very easy our attention is divided. So what I want to encourage you here is if you have a child who needs that quality time, actually anyone, all of us, we should do this, is have this one-on-one time with each one of our children. You know, it can be like just a 1-hour lunch. We take one child out just to spend that one-to-one, you know. Because I realized when my second girl came along, my first one felt a little bit neglected. Like, oh, because we were doing things for 3 years before this one came along. You know, so she was looking at her sister as someone like an intruder like that, you know. So we have to, so I realized how important it is to affirm her, to have that one-on-one time. Okay, and of course, things we want to avoid is like not listening to them. Okay, spending more time with other people instead of them when we can. Oops. Yeah, so like examples of things we can do. These are actually for couples as well, but for children, you know, we can take them to the playground. We can go on lunches together, like I mentioned, go for dinner together, take them to the play park. Those are things we can do to spend time. Okay, and the last one, the love language is physical touch. Just now when I asked you, what's the 5 seconds that you can show affection, you said hugging and kissing. That is part of physical touch, okay? So when you're communicating, use your body language. That means show them that you actually love them. Okay, don't just be words, but your actions as well, okay? How you are sitting, and when we're talking also, sit close to them, really look into their eyes. Sometimes the worst thing parents can do, I feel, is when, and I am guilty of this sometimes, so I'm not saying it's someone else, me as well. We're on our phones, and then our child comes, and then we're still looking at our phone, and then we're just okay. So our child actually knows that you're not paying attention to me. Although we as parents will be no, I heard what you said. But our child will be no, but you're not looking into my eyes and talking to me, So I think maybe you don't know what I'm saying. All right, of course, we want to avoid physical abuse, neglect. This one at any time, at any cost, of course. Okay, so these are things that we can do with our children, show them physical affection, touches, hugs, kisses. All right, so in this part, I actually want to give you a caution, as the child grows older, a father, for example, if a dad always used to wrestle with a girl, or maybe throw her around as a child, can a father do that with a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old or 10-year-old? It becomes a little bit weird, okay? So, because the child is growing up, the girl is maturing. Okay, in the same way, moms, when your boy was a small boy, used to go and ruffle his hair and all that. No? So as he grows up, if you go and ruffle his hair now, a teenager, he'll be hey, don't touch my hair. I already styled it, So our touches have to be age appropriate. Even as we show our children this affection, it has to be age appropriate. So be aware even as they grow up. All right? Okay, so that's affection. All right, and the last A we're going to look at is acceptance. All right, this is just a question just for you to reflect. There's not much in this part. It's just for us to think about this question. So acceptance, we all know, is accepting our child for who they are. Making them know that, yes, you are going to make mistakes. You are going to slip up. You are going to disappoint me at some point. But I'm always here for you. I accept you for what you are. Okay? So this is where we have to guide them. We have to lead them. Okay? And we should let them know that they are loved no matter what happens. Okay, so we finished the first part on the first E, okay? Establishing security with our children, okay? So once they feel secure, we can empower them. Let's move on to the next E, okay? So this is where we teach them problem solving. Now they already feel all the affection, they already get all the attention, okay? And they already feel my mom accepts me, my dad accepts me. Okay, so now we move on to the next E, which is empower them, problem solving. Okay? All right, here I just want to introduce you to this thing called SODAS. Okay, it's a step-by-step problem-solving method that we can try to apply with our children. All right, so the first one, we talk about the situation. Okay, so what has happened? S is for situation. All right, second one, options. The D is for the disadvantages. A is for the advantages. And then finally, S is for solution. So just think about the acronym SODAS, S-O-D-A-S. All right, so let me give you an example here. For example, the situation is that your child is being, I'm always saying bullied. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about bullying again, okay? Okay, your child is being bullied in school. All right, so what are the options here? Is it an option for your child not to go to school? No, that's definitely not an option, okay? So let's not even list it down. Okay, so what are the other options can we think of? All right, when my child was going through that issue with her being bullied, I told her, like, okay, maybe stay away from those children. Okay, go and tell your teacher. Okay, so those are options that we give our child. And then we think about the disadvantages of it. Are there any disadvantages to these options that we're giving them? Okay, if you're being bullied by someone, or if you tell them, go and tell your teacher, I don't think there's any disadvantage in that, unless sometimes some parent might say, oh, the teacher will mark my student, like someone who is complaining, you know. So that one we have to know based on situations as well. And then we look at the advantages. If you go and tell your teacher can solve the problem for you. You know, she can talk to the student about it, and she can warn that student. And finally, we come to a solution. So your child says, okay, fine, I will go and talk to the teacher. If it happens again, I'll go and tell the teacher. All right, so this is a step-by-step method that we can use to teach our child to problem solve. Okay, so eventually the hope is that they will do it on their own when they come across any issues. Okay? All right, so these are for like the older children, right? Children who can understand. And so for like primary children, younger children, you can actually use the same method, but it's a little bit more simpler. All right, where like the first one, we talk to them about their feelings. What am I feeling? How are you feeling? Are you feeling sad, angry, upset? You know, and then finally, then number 2, ask them, what's the problem? What's happening? Number 3, what are the solutions? Okay, so it's like also the disadvantages and the advantages. So what will happen if we do this? Okay, and then tell them to choose which they will try. Now, in all these problem-solving methods, right, we don't want to actually tell them what to do. Okay, the aim is actually for them to work together with them. All right, so eventually they'll be able to solve anything that they come across without having to go to you all the time. You know, they already have this skill and this method at hand. Okay, so just remember SODAS. Right, so this is how we empower them. All right, so, okay. We're in our last E, okay? So finally, we're going to equip them. We've already established, empower, given them a problem-solving skill, and then we're going to equip them. Okay, here I want to introduce to you something called the Happiness Toolkit. Okay, the Happiness Toolkit is, you know, we should ask ourselves, how full is my child's love tank? Okay, a love tank is how much of love your child feels. Is it full? And these tanks are, people are pouring into it, you know, like as parents, as friends, as relatives, cousins, everybody pours into this love tank. And how full, how much of love do our children feel? All right, so let's ask them that question first. Ask yourself, actually, is my child's love tank full? Now, here right now, for me to talk to you about resilience, we also need to talk about 3 areas. Okay, the first one is good sleep. Okay, for our child to be able to be clear in their mind, to be able to think, to solve issues, to be resilient, okay, they need good sleep. Sleep is everything, right? Okay, and there's actually a recommended amount of sleep that children should be getting. Okay, this is from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Okay, so as they grow up, the hours of sleep become lesser and lesser and lesser. And the least, like us all now, 18 years and above, we all just need to sleep about 7+ hours, okay? Which I'm sure most of us, some of us don't even get in a day, okay? But let's make sure that our children, especially the very young ones, like primary age, 6 to 12, they need at least 9 to 12 hours of sleep, okay? And 11 to 14 years old, 1 to 2 years need about 11 to 14 hours of sleep. All right, so this is just to ensure that their minds are clear, that they're able to think, they're able to not get affected so easily. They be strong mentally. Okay, that's the importance of sleep. Now, the second one is good cheer. What is good cheer? Good cheer is the things that they like to do. What fills them up with good cheer? What are places that they like to go to? Okay, what are things that they like to do? What food do they like to eat? Do we as parents know this? Okay, we want to make them happy, so what can we do? Right? And the last one is good company. Okay, to ensure that they have a good support system, they have good people that they can turn to. All right, so like in my case, with my daughters, I'm so blessed, and I'm so happy that we have a very good support system, you know, like where we go to church and where we go, like, especially our church, they have a really good community, a really good bunch of people who they can actually turn back to, okay? And also, of course, their grandmothers are, of course, there with them, their uncles, their aunties. So, like, so many times I realize that they don't tell us some things as parents, maybe because they are scared, like, we are going to scold them or something. But they go and share with their grandmothers, you know, or they share with someone else who is close to them. So they have that network that is beyond just the mom and the dad, okay, which is really an important thing. Okay, so finally, yeah, I think we've come to the end. Okay, so this is just a happiness toolkit where I'll give you the link to this later, so you can actually download this this toolkit. All right, so this is like you can actually record the hours of sleep that your child gets in a day. Okay, and this is one per child. So you put your child's name, and then you can record the number of hours they get. You can even put in their love language if you know what their love language is, you know, and then things that make them happy. So like what food do they like? What toys are their favorite? What book do they like to read? What activities do they like to do? All right, and finally, like in this part, who is the good company that they keep? You know, who are their good friends? Who are their confidants? Okay, it's very important for us as parents to also know who their friends are even as they grow up. Okay, so yeah, so this is the happiness toolkit, and you can download it later. So I really encourage you to do that. Just get the link, and you can just print it out and use one per child. Okay, so in wrapping up, these are the 3 E's for resilience. Okay, first we have to establish the security, empower them to problem solve, and finally we equip the children. Okay, so in closing, you know, it takes a whole village to raise a child. You know, we've heard that saying, right? We can't do it alone. All right, so some questions for us to ask also, like, from whom can you ask help? Do you have people around you that you can ask help from? Who can your child ask help from? And also in the same way, we want to be of help. You know, who can I offer help from? What can I do to help that mom or that dad? You know? So yes, let's offer help and be of help to each other. Yep, so I think I'm done.
So thank you, Marie. It's a lot to digest. For myself, I think I've basically jotted down some notes. Like number 1, failing is not a bad thing, right? I have 3 kids. I'm equally an achiever. Failing sometimes is a bit hard, but I have learned also where to empower them to face failures in that way. I think secondly, it's about resilient people do not let failure hold them back. And the third thing is, I can never forget the tea bags. Please drink your tea. The hotter the tea bag is, you know, the better, the stronger they can get. Now, there is one question coming from the floor here. Let's say if their own children cannot accept failure, not because their parents cannot accept failure, but the children cannot accept failure. How can we help them? These are top students, cannot accept failure. Marie, how? Yes.
Okay, first of all, I would say, like, as a parent, don't feel like you have failed your child just because they cannot accept that, you know, they cannot fail. But also, like, you know, as parents, we can only talk to them. We can keep encouraging them. You know, sometimes because the older they get, the more their mindset is set. You know, so we can actually keep talking to them, keep encouraging them, don't give up. Okay, the biggest thing I would tell the parent is not to give up on your child. You know, always encourage. And if you need to get help from someone else to talk to them, like maybe get a close friend or a relative of someone that they are close to, you know, ask that person to come and talk, or somebody they look up to, you know, ask that person to come and speak to them and encourage them, you know. And of course, you know, they can, and one way to also show them that they're not a failure is to continuously, like, you know, you can actually like put them in a class. I mentioned this before, you know, like put them in a class, show them that they're good at something. You know, just because you're failing in one area doesn't mean you're going to be failing in everything. You know, there's other areas, and make them realize that not everyone is good in one area. You know, there's so many other areas that we can venture into. I hope I answered the question.
All right. We let you go on that question. Okay, we basically have to show them that, look, you're not feeling everything, right? You still have other things that you can build your strengths upon. All right, so we have this difficult one, level 2 questions. As much as we want to empower our kids to solve problems, now what if, let's say, the kids themselves are not able, you know, sometimes our kids, younger ones, right, you probably can take in the information just 50%. You know, you can't take in all, right? So they are not able to articulate clearly what they are facing. So what will be the tools or ways in order to get a better information before we give them advices? Otherwise it backfires us, right? Blind leading the blind. Yeah. And then he was, you don't even understand, you know, Mom. I have that at home too. My little girl will just say, you just don't understand. She only speaks one time, one liner, and she expects me to understand everything.
All right. How? Can you tell me the main part of the question again? Okay.
So how do we advise them, right? They probably only tell you 50% of the problem.
Yes. Okay, so I guess like I mentioned, the emotions, the wheel just now, you know, maybe that will be a good tool for them. You can try that. You can actually ask them to express themselves, like what do they really feel. Like, you know, I'm assuming that they're okay to talk to the mom. It's just that they think the mom doesn't understand. Is it? Or they just don't want to talk also?
Why don't we ask the questions? I think sometimes the children do not know the situation.
Yeah.
Because they are very young, they don't assess the whole thing accurately.
Yeah.
So when they tell their parents about it, they also only convey half or less, you know. So then the parents came up, oh, okay, like that. Then the parents actually gave the wrong solution, okay. And then when the children, oh, okay, this is what my mom dad says, they follow and it backfire. You see.
Yes. Yes, you can.
This is from experience. I have two daughters in their teens, late teens, and there is no perfect solution. My mistake is being a man, no patience. Before they say something only, I jump to conclusion. You know, oh, like that, you know what I mean? So I think my wife is better at this. She always scold me, you got no patience. You know, so sometimes we cannot extract that problem at that moment. So we got to let it simmer. Yeah, we got to let it, you know, cool down, you know, bathe first, eat first, tired already. Then the person can easily talk. Because certain moments when they are talking, right, they get very emotional, you know. So when they're emotional, they don't know how to describe the situation, or they don't know how to describe their own feelings also. So sometimes you could just, okay, don't be like me lah, lose patience, and then you don't know what you're saying, things like that. So just let it, whatever emotion is released, just allow it, and probably in the later evening or times at night, then you can go, and my wife will do this very excellently lah. Ask question, why? What happened? Why are you feeling like that? Which is your friend? What are they doing? Things like that. Then they begin to tell. Of course, it is not suddenly. You need to, as parents, you need to know your friends. Because my children will always complain to me, Daddy, you don't know my friends lah. Every time they tell the name, this name, I don't remember who one. The things. So my wife will know, this person, stay there one, the mother is this. So then they can open up easily. Yeah. So there is no perfect answer, right? You want to add something? There's no perfect answer, but to me is sometimes you got to let it simmer. Don't try to give solution there and then, or find the problem there and then. Or maybe you have to let it overnight. Then they can talk over it. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can just add also, parents, like I mentioned the listen attentively part, let's not make assumptions about what our child is feeling. And the best way you can do is actually to paraphrase what they are saying, to actually understand, like to say, so this is what you mean, and then we have a one-to-one conversation and actually sit them down, and they do more of the talking than we do. We do the listening and also the attentive listening, where we actually tell them, really paraphrase what they say, repeat what they say, so they really understand that, okay, then we as parents also, we get the proper picture, and don't make assumptions about, yeah. So.
You have to be very patient, because young kids, they don't talk logically one. you know what I mean? They talk, 1 hour ago, then they talk 5 hours ago, then they come back to 3 hours ago, then they come back half an hour. So you got to know how to piece the jigsaw together.
I think it's a very good advice, which is to simmer over. And sometimes as parents, me, myself, as you were talking, that we are very anxious to want to quickly give a solution. And at times, probably they are not ready. Probably today they only tell you 15%. Tomorrow they're probably willing to tell you and able to describe more, which tomorrow will give you up another 30%. Yes, Lud, thank you. Patience is key, okay? All right, so I'm going to stop here and see, is there any questions coming from online and also any questions from the floor? Do you all have any questions? No? Sorry? The first question. Let's say, I think it's very common that most of the parents are facing that our own kids actually are the ones that cannot accept failures. Yeah. So it's not that we cannot accept failures, but our kids can't accept failures because they are in the system right now is to perform and, be that achiever lah. Okay, so I have one question here. Assuming that the parents already did all the 3 E's, Marie. You did all the empower problem solving, love language. You did everything, but still the children just don't want to come, not responding well to us. What would be your advice?
Yes, I would say that, just don't give up, because we don't know when they will eventually listen, and there's always going to be something that comes along that will happen that maybe make them realize, okay, and we can actually actually the basic thing is just don't give up, because, and always be there for them, as someone they can come to, someone they can always talk to. So as parents also, we have to be open, sometimes I realize I scold my older daughter quite a lot sometimes because my patience not so good lah. So then I realized okay, maybe she doesn't want to come and open up to me or talk to me, probably because she's afraid I might scold her again. So we can actually check ourselves also and realize just it's not something that we are doing, it's just something that our children are like that, and we just have to persevere, just go on, and eventually hope that they will realize. Yes. Oh, yes.
Can I just give some feedback on the first question? What if your child cannot accept failure? I guess affirming them a lot is good. Whatever happens, still tell them you are loved. The thing is, parents must know your child. I got 2 girls. My eldest girl is academically inclined. My younger one is not so, but my younger one is more sports inclined. So I have to know their strengths and their weaknesses. So if the eldest one cannot play badminton that well, or cannot do sports that well, we cannot say, oh yeah, things like that. So you got to know. Then your youngest one cannot score all the A's. Then you say, why you cannot be like your cheche like that? All A's one, you things like that. So we got to know your children, each individual child, where are the strengths, where are the weaknesses, and then that's how you work with them. So then you understand that, if they can't really accept failure, then we have to work with them. How? This is already failed, all right? So what is the consequences that you work through? What are the disadvantage, advantage, and how do you resolve that you won't fail whatever that you have failed? Yeah. So you give them that hope, number 1. Number 2, you give them that quote unquote road map to prevent the next failure. So you're not just telling them, just accept. No, but you say, okay, the next time you do this, you do that. Right? Okay. Example, my daughter don't do very well in her Chinese. So how do you encourage the girls to do better in Chinese? So I try also a method, also cannot. Then at the end of the day, I refer her to somebody who is an expert in Chinese, and just one talk with her, opening up, analyzing what she can do, she cannot do, and it opens up her new world. Right? So our job is to what? Connect her with people who can help. Your last slide was, who can you look for help? Yeah, it's also that. So you say, okay, fail, but don't just accept, but you work with her or him. How do you move towards preventing or minimizing the next failure in one sense? So then there is a hope that is, okay, I can work on it. Rather than, you fail also, like that. You know what I mean? Not? Yeah.
Probably last questions, okay? I want to go back to the first few slides when you show the stats about suicides. It's getting a little bit alarming. I think suicidal rates is getting younger. And often we hear people around us that say that, that there are students that couldn't take... Sorry, I'm going a little bit deeper, Lut, if that's okay. It's actually couldn't take failures, and they decided to just end their life. Or rather, they don't think they can make it. They find that it's just very stressful, to meet the expectations from all other places. How can we as parents identify those stress points, preventing the tragic happen before it becomes too late?
How to identify
suicidal behaviors.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is observe, like really look at their behavior. Like I mentioned, the non-verbal behavior. What are they not saying? Has their characters changed drastically? Like a child who has been talkative or has been present, has that child suddenly become quiet? Or if your child has always come and sat down in the hall and maybe watched TV together as a family, suddenly this child, he's going into the room and locking himself up or herself up. So these are cues that we can actually observe, things that we can see. And it's very important for us to go and speak to them about it. Don't just sweep it under the rug and say like, oh, it's okay, I think maybe it's just adolescence. Maybe they're just having an attitude now because they're growing up, you know. So it's very important to have the conversation, to talk to them, tell them, I've observed these changes. You know, is there anything you want to talk about? You know, and like Lut said, give it time. Like even as we tell them, like talk to me, if you want to talk to me about something, like don't tell them, tell me what's happening. Don't say it like that. Say it like, if you ever want to talk about something, I am here for you. So we're not telling them you have to talk about it now. You can talk about it when you're ready. But when you are ready, I will be there to listen to you. You know, so we give them the choice. We put it in their court. And we've already told them, like, we are here. We want to listen. We have noticed this change. So please come and talk to us when you are ready. You know, and of course, keep observing. Know like Lut said, know their friends, know what company they are keeping. You know, try to understand what is happening in their school life. Because like Sophia was mentioning, the age is getting lower and lower. Even primary school children have stress. You know, even 5-year-old children have got stress, okay, these days, apparently. So the stress level is, for the ages, is becoming it's lowering. You know, so it's, as parents, our job is actually becoming more intensified. We have to be more observant. We have to be more, because of all the influences outside. You know, our children are exposed, like I mentioned, not only to things that are happening in our country, but also overseas, everywhere, the media, the influence, you know. So, yeah, so that is...
Thank you, Marie. I think I just want to conclude these sessions. I guess the best currency with kids is always time. And I think I keep hearing patience and being attentive. When you were talking, Marie, is often we parents like to say that we know more than you. You know what is stress, man? You know? What do you know about stress? I guess what I have also learned through this session is listen to the child. It's very important, and regardless what age they are in, it's really listening to them, and then only we respond. We respond later. We don't have to be anxiously have to give an answer like now, you know, and we build a relationship. I'm going to close this time, and I'm also going to invite those who are in Dignity 8X, who are new to us and also online, that we are running Transform series at our church every Sunday, 10 a.m. It is a Transform series where we explore how can we continue to flourish at key areas in our lives. We have done, probably this week is already in our week 5. Last week we looked at how do we also become resilient mentally. So this week, coincidentally, we will be looking at how do we build healthy relationship. And the week after that, we look at how can we transform and the way how I see and use money. So if you would like to transform your life in these areas, chat with us, reach out to us, and we'd like to see you in New Covenants community this Sunday, 10 a.m. All right, so wrap this up this time. Thank you again. For those who are in Dignity 8X, you can continue to talk to the team here if you have more questions, and continue to come and check out the resources that is available tonight. See you again. Good night.